Hello, I'm Harry Riley. Welcome to my Mystery Tales. Here is the first chapter of my new novel, a follow-on story from The Sins of the Fathers. It's called The Laird of Castle Ballantine, Chapter 1. The year is 1964, and a young reporter stumbles on a strange mystery that will involve him personally and affect the whole of his future life. His efforts to uncover the truth are thwarted by the government's 50-year secrecy rule, and then fate takes a hand. "This is a total waste of time," insists the young blonde-haired woman at his side. "I agree, but we have to be here, you know we do." "I can't think why. It's pretty obvious nothing's going to happen, and I'm absolutely freezing." Another muted voice cuts in from the darkness at the edge of the crowd, from someone listening intently. "I've got my camera with me just in case." It is bitter cold, and the mist is swirling up from the flooded River Tweed by their side. Leonard McFadden pulls his coat collar higher to protect his bare neck. Enviously he turns around and glares at the man standing behind him, who had the foresight to be wearing a woolly hat. Leonard thinks he's coming down with the flu. He should be tucked up in bed with a glass of brandy, snug in his room at the Towers Hotel, back at Berwick-upon-Tweed. Raising a hand to his mouth, he tries vainly to stifle a cough that has been desperately keen to burst out. Watching as his exposed breath lingers visibly in the cold night air. He could be waiting on the other side of the heavy wrought iron gates, in the old Singer Gazelle with the engine running and the heater going full blast. After all, nothing's really going to happen. There are over a dozen journalists, each of them rubbing their hands together and thumping their feet heavily on the sodden ground, trying frantically to stamp some life back into their ice-cold toes as they cluster together in this snow-covered churchyard, making an untidy circle around the grave with its large white-winged angel. The feeble light from the vicar's lantern picks out the raw edges of the cracked and broken base slab marking the boundary of the burial plot. The wind picks up and it's starting to snow again, thick sticky globules of icy water splashing onto bare heads and dripping down their collars. The weather is definitely taking the mickey. It has been snowing almost continuously for over a week now, and the ground on which they stand is squelching under their shoes. They have been here for an hour and a half in the pitch blackness, waiting for something to happen and listening to a group of hooded nuns chanting their Latin verses over and over again as they pray loudly in unison, trying to lay the ghost of Rosemary Turpin, née Parker, the young woman that lies buried there. "Oh, for God's sake, can't you see it's moving? Look, the grave's shifting." Quiet. Somebody must be nudging it with his foot. No, there, see, the earth is definitely moving at the side. The young blonde woman at Leonard's elbow seems to be trying to push him over the edge as the grave begins to open up in the eerie yellow light cast by the lantern. They all gasp awestruck as the largest piece of broken slab begins to twist, rise up in one corner and then slides slowly back down. And then without warning, the middle of the ground beneath the entire plot caves in as water gurgles and suddenly gushes up into a mighty fountain, covering all present in disgustingly smelly mud, and finally settles around their ankles as it tries to escape down to the nearby riverbank. They fall back in horror, overstretched imaginations working overtime. The Sisters of Mary seem to be taking their cue from the excited state of the onlookers, increasing the tempo of their chanting. The vicar also appears to be getting more animated as he swings the lantern wildly about, ratcheting up the tension. He has joined in the prayers in a voice they all know to be several octaves higher than usual, and begins salivating and mouthing in tongues, eyes rolling wide open, staring up at the night sky. And then, throwing down the lantern, he lets out a morbid wail and plummets to the ground in a dead faint. Cameras flash. The church clock strikes midnight. The nuns suddenly cease their ritualistic mumbling, cross themselves, say a few Hail Marys, and slip away into the night. Several of the assembled visitors unceremoniously hauled the unconscious vicar into the shelter of his church and lay him down on a pew. Somebody goes for the doctor. End of chapter 1. Thank you.